Hey guys, it's Kathy. I hope you're doing well. We're doing OJ a little different today because I ran out of time. So I'm doing this as a premiere so we can still get OJ done today. I have it recorded. I have to put words in every once in a while or YouTube will get me. So I just left the words in for my live stream. On the premiere I did for my live stream because it made me giggle. So you're gonna see random words throughout this OJ, but it'll be fun. It'll be fine. I will see you all tomorrow. I hope you guys have a great day.
Yes.
And to the right of that, my eyesight's getting better. To the right of that is the coroner's case number where it is to be placed.
Yes, and also you have information which needs to be completed with reference to what was collected, yes and no. And also you need to fill out whether the evidence was collected at the scene or at the Forensic Science Center, which is the coroner's office.
And that's basically 1104 North Mission Road.
Yes,
Next.
and then the investigator signs it.
There also appears in what is displayed here something underneath the area of by and date and time, something received in evidence room. What does that refer to?
I had mentioned earlier, the evidence is dropped in the drop box. There is an evidence custodian for the office who retrieves the evidence from the drop box every day and transports the evidence to the evidence room where all the evidence from all the cases are secured. And if anybody wants to retrieve the evidence, they go to the evidence custodian to get the evidence released to them.
And let me ask Mr. Fairlow if he would please to put 304B up so we can see what is the information to be completed on this particular kit. Doctor, in essence, is the procedure the same as you just identified?
Yes.
By the way, at the top, you see, I think we also saw it in the other one, file, DR number, and agency. What is that information to reflect?
Basically, it refers to the law enforcement agency investigating a particular crime, and they have a DR number.
And in this particular case of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman, that would be the Los Angeles Police Department?
Yes.
And whatever their DR number would be?
Yes.
May I have just a moment with Mr. Fairlow, Your Honor? Your Honor, I've asked Mr. Fairlow if he would put on the Elmo another photograph, which I'll ask to be marked as Exhibit 305. And hopefully that he'll turn it, the other turning. Thank you, Mr. Fairlow. And actually, I would ask Mr. Fairlow if he would please. Mr. Fairlow promised me that this was a very smooth procedure. If we could zoom in on the lower package on the left. And if we can focus that a little bit, thank you. Doctor, looking at this particular aspect of photograph 305, are you familiar with what is shown here?
Yes, this is the photograph of the original envelope used in collecting the fingernail evidence on Ms. Brown Simpson.
Now, with respect to the writing that appears in agency, file / DR number, decedent's name, coroner's case number, and the check marks, and then the either initials or signature by and the date and time, are you familiar with whose writing that is?
Yes.
Whose is that?
Claudine Ratcliffe.
And is she expected to complete this information immediately after the collection of the particular material that is contained within this fingernail kit?
Yes.
And in this particular case, that time would be what, Doctor?
1340 hours on June 13th.
And that would be 1:40 in the afternoon?
Yes.
There also appears to be a check at Forensic Science Center. Is that also completed by Ms. Ratcliffe
Yes.
to reflect where the sample was taken?
Yes.
Now, Doctor, as you look at this particular kit, do you see any check mark in either a yes or no box for the left and right hand fingernail scrapings?
There's no check mark.
Did you, on June 22nd of 1994, along with Dr. Bodden, who's seated again in court with us, have an opportunity to review the contents of this particular envelope?
Yes, I did.
When you reviewed the contents of this envelope, what, if anything, did you find inside the envelope?
We had evidence of both nail scrapings and clippings on Ms. Brown Simpson.
And were the scrapings in individualized envelopes for left hand and right hand?
Yes,
Were they sealed in the manner you would expect them to be sealed?
yes.
Does it appear from what you have found that Ms. Radcliffe simply failed to check those two boxes on this particular form?
Sustained.
Doctor, did there appear to be anything out of the ordinary with respect to what you saw on the interior of that kit that would cause you to have believed that there was a mistake with respect to the collection itself that was inside that envelope, those two packages that are not marked on the front of the envelope?
Sustained.
Doctor, from your experience and your knowledge of the practices of your office, did you find anything out of the ordinary with respect to the contents of this fingernail kit?
There was nothing out of the ordinary in the contents, but the envelope failed to demonstrate that fingernail scrapings had been collected.
In your opinion, was this a mistake on the part of Ms. Radcliffe not in marking the front of the envelope?
Overruled.
Yes.
And Doctor, does this mistake by Ms. Radcliffe have any significance to you on any of the issues that you've reviewed with respect to things like cause of death, et cetera?
Overruled.
None.
And Mr. Fairlow, can you? Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Could we go back to the original photograph for just a moment further? And the lower part of the envelope, please. This is again back to 305, the left-hand bottom kit and the lower portion. All right. Doctor, now I'd like Mr. Fairlow to focus in on the part starting with evidence collected and down to the bottom of the envelope. We've already covered the signature of Ms. Radcliffe, and now I want to go to the received in evidence room by. Do you recognize a signature in the by box or line of that entry?
Yes, I do.
Whose signature is that?
Mr. Steve Patino.
Who is Mr. Patino?
He was a student worker at that time in the evidence room.
Keep your voice up, please,
He was
Doctor.
a student worker in the evidence room at that time.
And what would his responsibilities be, if any, with respect to handling collected evidence such as this fingernail kit?
He would retrieve it from the drop box and log it in the evidence room and also document this process in the evidence log sheet of the coroner's office.
We're going to see the Dropbox and so forth later, but is Mr. Patino expected at the time that he collects this from the Dropbox to make an entry on the kit itself to show he has obtained possession of it?
Yes.
What time and date does this entry reflect?
It reflects June 15th, I think 7 o'clock in the morning.
Doctor, is there anything out of the ordinary of your regular custom and practice with respect to a kit being collected on the 13th at 1:40 in the afternoon, placed in the Dropbox, but not received by someone like Mr. Patino until the 15th?
There's nothing out of the ordinary. Usually they pick up every morning, and in this case they pick it up the 15th. It seems to be received on the 15th.
You have to keep your voice up,
It has
Doctor.
been received on the 15th.
Okay, now that's a day and a half later. Is that unusual?
It's not unusual.
Underneath that received in is another set of pre-printed words, delivered to by date and time. What is that intended to refer to?
That, as I mentioned earlier, the evidence custodian is the one who releases evidence from the coroner's office. Everybody has to go there to collect any evidence. And in this particular situation, that delivered to is the name of the person whom this evidence was released to by Mr. Patino on the 24th. And I think I read a name, I think INDIS, if I'm...
Assume for the moment that's someone named DeGrandis.
Grandis.
Is that a coroner employee?
No.
Now, if we go to the next line, by, do you recognize that signature?
That is Mr. Patino.
And then the entry for date and time that appears next to that, what does that refer to?
That is the date and time the evidence was released from the coroner's office.
Which would be, in this case?
June 24th, 94, at 9:30 in the morning.
Now, Doctor, there appear to be two entries below that series of entries you just referred to. What, if anything, do those two refer to?
Those entries were not made at our office. Once the envelope is released, I don't have an idea who entered those, but probably the LAPD.
You did not, that is, your office did not retake or regain custody of this kit and its contents. Is that correct, once it was released?
That's correct.
Now, if Mr. Fairlow could move to the second photograph and focus in on the same area of that photograph we were just focusing in on Exhibit 305. Doctor, does this appear to be the back side of the envelope, the fingernail kit for Ms. Nicole Brown Simpson that you were just viewing in the previous photograph?
Yes.
Your Honor, may this be marked as, I believe we're at Exhibit 306, is it?
306.
Now, Doctor, there appear to be It's kind of an American flag. We have a white, red, and a blue. Can you tell us which, if any of those, are coroner materials?
The original white, I already showed you, that is the seal which is broken when the envelope is opened. The red is a seal which is placed after the evidence is collected
Placed by whom, doctor?
by the investigator when the envelope is sealed back.
So in this case, that would be Ms. Radcliffe?
Yes.
And is she expected to initial this in some fashion?
Yes.
Do you see her initials somewhere? You have to speak up, doctor, so look first and speak perhaps afterwards.
I can't see.
Doctor? Doctor, if you're going to speak, it's going to be very helpful if you'll speak into the microphone. So look first.
There is an initial on the tag there, but I'm not sure whether it's her initial or it's just this on the right side. I don't see an initial here.
But she is expected to initial it, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, doctor, and I think we're done with that particular photograph. And I've asked Mr. Fairlow to put another photograph on the board, on the Elmo, excuse me. And, Your Honor, may this be marked as Exhibit 307.
Yes.
Doctor, are you familiar with what is shown in this particular photograph?
Yes.
What is this?
This is the hair kit of Miss Brown Simpson Nicole, which was collected on June 13th, 94.
If Mr. Fairlow could zoom in at the top portion, fine, that's great. Again, do you recognize the handwriting or printing that appears in the areas with LAPD and a number, and underneath that decedent's name and coroner's case number?
Yes.
Whose is that?
This is the handwriting of Miss Claudine Ratcliffe.
And there now, if Mr. Fairlow can raise the photograph so we see a little further down on it and stop in this area. Doctor, there appear to be boxes that have, I believe, X's on them. Do you see that?
Yes,
Who is expected to make those X's on this particular form?
Miss Ratcliffe.
And in this particular case, what do those X's reflect?
That certain types of hair was collected.
What types of hair were collected?
Head, facial and arm hair was collected.
And the last entry that has no box checked, I can't quite make out. Can you tell us what that would represent?
Chest hair.
Now, doctor, we drop down to just about the end of that white tape. There appears to be a signature, a date, and a time. Do you recognize that?
Yes,
Whose signature?
Miss Claudine Ratcliffe.
And again, the time and date reflect what?
June 13th, 94, 13:40 hours, which is 1:40 in the afternoon.
Approximately when this material was collected?
Yes.
Sustained.
Doctor, is she expected to put in the time approximately when this material was collected in these particular boxes?
Yes.
Now, the white tape, does that have any significance to you? There's white and red that we see along the side here.
It's not from our office. It is from the lab which was doing the examination of the evidence.
It's not from the coroner's office,
No.
though. All right, if we'll drop to the bottom, now perhaps Mr. Fairlow could raise the document again. What are the entries that we are seeing here?
The similar entries which we saw in the other kit, Mr. Pettino retrieved this evidence from the drop box on June 15th at 7 o'clock in the morning.
And then underneath that,
He delivered the evidence to the same person, Mr. Grandis, on June 24th at 9:30.
I'm sorry, keep your voice up, doctor.
Mr. Grandis, on June 24th, at 9:30, got the evidence from Mr. Pettino.
And the entries that appear below the ones you've just described are not made by anyone from the coroner's office, is
That
that
is correct.
I have another photograph that I'll ask Mr. Fairlow to please put in the Elmo. And ask, Your Honor, that this be marked. I think we're up to 307?
Yes.
308.
Clearly.
Doctor, does this appear to be the back of the envelope that was just previously up on the screen regarding the hair kit of Nicole Brown Simpson?
Yes.
And the white seal that's running, vertically in the center top portion, is that a coroner seal?
Yes.
What about the red seals that form an X? What are those?
Those could be the, again, our evidence. You see, this particular piece of evidence were retrieved by Claudine, sealed, and then again on the 22nd, we again examined them with Dr. Barden, and again the resealed by us.
Keep your voice up, please,
It's
Doctor.
resealed by us.
You resealed it, you and, I'm sorry, after you and Dr. Bodden had reviewed the contents of this envelope?
Yes.
But all of the seals that we're looking at in the center, the white and the two red, are Los Angeles County coroner seals of the envelope. Is that correct?
Yes.
I have another photograph that I'll ask Mr. Fairtlow to put on the Elmo and ask it to be marked 309, Your Honor.
309.
Doctor, are you familiar with what is shown in this photograph?
Yes, this is the evidence envelope reflecting the hair kit collection on Mr. Ron Goldman.
And if Mr. Fairtlow can zoom in on the upper portion, thank you. The entries that appear there for agency, DR number, decedent's name, and coroner's case number, do you recognize the writing?
Yes,
Who's writing?
Claudine Ratcliffe.
And again now, if we drop down a little bit, there appear to be a series of boxes which are checked. What do those entries reflect?
Basically, collection of hair from Mr. Ron Goldman, head hair, facial hair, and arm hair were collected.
And in this case, there's also a no box checked, is that correct?
Yes,
To reflect what?
chest hair was not collected.
And if Mr. Fairtlow could drop down a bit. Now we're back at the evidence collected portion of the document. Do you recognize the entries that appear there?
Yes,
What do they reflect?
Ms. Claudine Ratcliffe collected them at the Forensic Science Center, June 13th, and at 14:40 hours.
And dropping down even further, there are some entries. Do you recognize who made those entries?
Yes, it was received in the evidence room by Mr. Patino on June 15th, 94 at 7 o'clock.
And then even dropping down further, we have some more entries. What do they reflect?
The evidence was released to Mr. Grandis by Mr. Patino on June 24th, 94 at 9:30 in the morning.
And again, there are some entries underneath, the ones you've just referred to. Were those made by your personnel?
No.
And I've asked Mr. Fairtlow to put another photograph on the board, or the Elmo. I'm used to board, sorry, Your Honor. May this be marked as Exhibit 310.
Yes, People's 310.
Doctor, are you familiar with what's shown in this photograph?
This is just a sealed envelope, the reverse side, so
The reverse side of the envelope you were just looking at?
yes.
Please keep your voice up. Doctor,
Yes.
basically would your answers regarding this envelope, the seals that we see, the white and the two red cross seals, be the same as your answers were for the backside of the earlier envelope?
Yes.
Your Honor, the court may wish to cut the feed out. I'm not sure that that's necessary, but out of an abundance of caution. I'd ask, Your Honor, that this photograph be marked. I think we're up to 311.
People's 311.
And if Mr. Fairtlow could zoom in just a little bit, so maybe we can read the writing, maybe center it just a bit. Thanks. Doctor, first of all, in photograph 311, and actually if you could raise it just a little bit, please, Mr. Fairtlow, so we can see that blue. The blue rectangular item in this photograph, Doctor, first of all, in general terms, what is that?
This is the fingernail clippings which was taken on Ms. Simpson, which was opened by Dr. Barden and myself on June 22nd, and this is a photograph to reflect the contents of the envelope.
And I was asking, actually, I think, Doctor, on what this blue rectangular item is that the arrow is by at the moment.
The blue rectangle is a measuring is a card which we use whenever we take a photograph in the coroner's office. It's got a built-in ruler, and you inscribe the coroner's case number and the date and the name of the photographer who takes the photograph, and it's always placed in any coroner's photograph.
The numbers that we see both on the envelope and on the measuring card, 94-5136, is this the individualized number for the case of Nicole Brown Simpson?
Yes,
And this type of blue measuring card is to be in every photograph that is taken as a part of any case that is being photographed?
yes.
Doctor, the measuring aspect of this card, what is it?
It's in inches, and the measuring device usually has up to 3 inches.
Now, Doctor, if Mr. Fairtlow could move the arrow to my left and to the white piece of paper, and there appear to be a series of items on this white piece of paper. What are those items?
Right-hand fingernail clippings
Did
from
you,
Ms. Brown Simpson.
did you remove those clippings when they were in that bindle, with the bindle having been in the envelope that's seen in this photograph?
We just opened and saw it. We didn't handle it. We closed it back. I have minutes of the meeting, what we exactly did.
Is it in the course of this examination that you found that there were scraping envelopes collected?
Yes, and I'd like to refer to my minutes, Your Honor.
And, Your Honor, while Dr. Lakshmanan is doing that, I'm asking Mr. Fairtlow to put another photograph up that I asked to be marked as 312.
I have the minutes in front of me.
I'm sorry, Doctor, have you had a chance to review whatever you needed to?
Yes.
And what does it refresh your memory about?
These are the right-hand fingernail clippings which we viewed.
And now, in this photograph that's been marked as Exhibit 312, what is shown in this photograph?
This is a close-up photograph of the nail clippings.
As you and Dr. Bodden had an opportunity to examine them?
Yes.
I think we're done with that photograph then. And if we could go back to I believe it's photograph 304 that we were looking at when we did a close-up of the tray with respect to fingernail kits. Doctor, now inviting your attention, if Mr. Fairtlow could take the arrow to the top, the countertop of the area displayed here. Doctor, do you see some items on the countertop that are used by someone like Ms. Radcliffe with the bodies as the bodies are brought into this room?
Yes, this is the fingerprint kit which is used to take fingerprints.
And what kind of fingerprints would someone be expected to take from a body when the body arrives at the area that's shown in this photograph?
We usually take all the fingers and also the palm prints.
Did you find, Doctor, once you reviewed this case, that there had been a mistake made with respect to any of the fingerprinting or palm printing of either of the decedents, Nicole Brown Simpson or Mr. Goldman?
Yes.
What mistake or mistakes did you find were made?
They took the, in Nicole Brown Simpson, apparently only the right-hand palm prints were taken, the left-hand palm prints were not taken.
Did you examine the card of the prints that were taken?
No, I did not because they were already released, but I have copies of the cards.
Is there a separate card to reflect the left palm and the right palm?
It's in the back of the fingerprint cards, actually.
I'm-
You have it in the back of the fingerprint cards.
And did the copies of the cards that you have show some kind of entry in each side, that is for a left and a right?
I don't have to check the card copy.
All right, could you refresh your memory if you would, please?
I only have the front copy. I don't have the back because it was released. The cards were released already, I think,
To whom were the cards released?
to LAPD. And they are the ones who informed us that the palm prints were not taken on. Left hand was not available.
Doctor, in your opinion, does the absence of a left palm print from Nicole Brown Simpson affect your ability to evaluate the issues that you have evaluated?
No.
Oh,
You may
No,
answer.
no.
I have another photograph, Your Honor. I asked to be marked as Exhibit 313. Yes. Doctor, are you familiar with what's shown in this photograph, 314? 313, excuse me.
Yes.
What is that?
This is the area where the drop box is located, where after the evidence is collected from the dissidents, it is placed in this kind of drop box and an evidence log is maintained.
And Doctor, if Mr. Fairtlow could zoom in on that mailbox-like device, and there appears to be some kind of brown envelope in about the middle. Do you see that?
Yes.
And now he's zoomed in where I think you can read something. What does that reflect?
That is the space where the evidence log cards are placed after the evidence has been dropped off in the drop box.
When you say the log cards are placed, is something to be completed by someone on that card?
Yes.
By whom?
The investigator on a particular case.
Like Ms. Radcliffe?
Yes.
And is she expected, when she drops this off, to fill in what information?
There are two log sheets here. One is the evidence log card, which belongs to a particular case, so we can have a chain of custody of the evidence. The other is there's a drop-off log sheet, which is also available next to the drop box, wherein it is indicated who dropped off what evidence in the drop-off box.
And she is expected to complete both documents?
Yes.
What happens with the log card that is placed back in this envelope that's seen in this photograph 313?
This evidence log card is retrieved by the evidence custodian, who retrieves the evidence from the drop box.
And what does the custodian, that would be Mr. Patino?
Yes.
What does he do with it when he retrieves it?
He retrieves it, and it is the card which is used by him, and information is completed as and when the evidence is released from the coroner's office. So there's a chain of custody for the evidence, and if you look at the log sheet, which we will see later, you will have when the evidence was collected, when it was received in the evidence room, to whom it was released, etc.
Is that document completed in the ordinary course of business for the coroner's office by its employees?
Yes.
And are the entries expected to be made at or near the time of the events which are recorded?
Yes.
I have another photograph I'll ask Mr. Fairtlow to put on the Elmo and ask that that be marked as 314, please, Your Honor. Now, Doctor, is this another view of the drop box?
Yes.
But we are now seeing both the front portion of the mailbox and what appears to be the right side of the mailbox. Is that correct?
Yes.
There also appears to be a brown envelope of some sort on the right side. What is that all about?
That is the place where the fingerprint cards are placed after the fingerprints have been obtained on a dissident.
And that is to be placed by whom?
The person collecting the fingerprints,
In this case, who was that?
Mr. Jacobo.
And what happens to the card once it's placed there?
It's retrieved by the evidence custodian also.
And that would be like a Mr. Patino?
Yes.
And what does Mr. Patino do with that once he collects it?
He maintains the same information on the log sheet which I alluded to earlier, so that we'll have a chain of custody of the fingerprint cards in the coroner's office.
Is there anything else about the process of the collection of the hair kits, the nail kits, and the deposit of those kits as collected that we have not covered that you feel should be brought out?
It's important. You can see a lock there. Nobody else has access to that lock except the evidence custodian, so that there is complete security of the evidence once it's dropped off in the log box, and that is important.
I'll ask Mr. Fairtlow to put another photograph on. Ask that it be marked, Your Honor, as Exhibit 315.
People 315.
Mr. Lynch has offered me a good suggestion. With that box, and you say it's got a lock, how does anybody get in to drop something off?
No, there is it's like a mailbox on the upper part. You can drop in the evidence, but to retrieve it, you need to open it and retrieve it from the lower portion.
And is it fair to say that the security that is provided would be the same as if one wanted to retrieve the letter that they inadvertently dropped in a mailbox?
That's correct.
Now let's see if we can go to this photograph that's up on the Elmo, Exhibit 315. What are we looking at here, Doctor?
This is the area in the refrigerated room in the coroner's office where the bodies are placed prior to autopsy. This is an area of the refrigerated crypt space where the homicide cases are kept.
When you say crypt space, you mentioned crypt space before, and you mentioned spaces 3 and 4 for Ms. Brown-Simpson, Mr. Goldman. Is this the area you're talking about?
No. This is the area where we keep all the homicide cases. The crypt space, which was earmarked, is the space where the bodies are placed after the autopsy and before release, so we can locate the remains at that point.
Doctor, is this area secure in any fashion?
Yes, I mean, the whole building is secure, and this is a separate entry area into the refrigerator. You see the door there? It's an automatic door entry to the refrigerated crypt space area, and the only people who have access are the employees of the coroner's office, the forensic attendants, and the technicians.
We are looking from the inside towards the door that would lead to the outside of this
Yeah,
area?
Yes,
Doctor, why do you have this area refrigerated?
because you're storing human remains so that you prevent further deterioration of the body condition, which happens after death.
Doctor, you've testified that the bodies were received at the Forensic Science Center on June 13th of 1994. Was any autopsy performed on either body on June 13th, 1994?
No.
Is that standard procedure?
Yes, because usually the autopsies are performed the next day. Sometimes we do perform autopsies the same day, depending on our caseload. But generally, the autopsies are performed the following day or the day after, soon after the investigative information is available to the doctor.
Did the bodies of Nicole Brown Simpson and Mr. Goldman come to be placed in this room sometime on the 13th of June, 1994?
Yes.
Had you examined either body prior to the time they were placed in this room?
Yes, I did.
When did you first see either body?
Sometime in the midday of June 13th, when I was made aware of these two deaths, and I met Ms. Claudine Ratcliffe, and we went down together to look at the dissidents in the dissident processing room, which we had shown earlier on a photograph.
The processing room is the fingernail kits, the hair kit area?
Yes.
When you saw both bodies?
Yes, I did.
Were they both clothed when you saw them?
Yes.
Did you examine them in any detailed fashion at that time?
No, I just examined briefly the external front aspect of both the dissident, and at that point, I asked Ms. Ratcliffe whether a criminalist had been to the scene, and I had information that no criminalist had gone to the scene. So I made sure that our criminalist from our office examines the dissidents, and I called the chief of laboratories, and Mr. Mahaney, who is our criminalist at our office, came to look at both the dissidents.
I think we'll get into that a bit later. Did you do anything other than what you've described with respect to examining the bodies on the 13th?
Yes, I also wanted to assign the cases to a physician, and that is the day I looked at my schedule, and I requested Dr. Golden to do both autopsies.
Doctor, take us through the process, if any, that you used in deciding to ask Dr. Golden to perform the autopsies in these two cases.
I had to see who's the experienced pathologists we have who are available not only on the day these two dissidents were brought to our office, which was June 13th, but also the day following and June 15th, because sometimes an autopsy may take more time than necessary. And Dr. Golden was one of the physicians who was available all the 3 days, as I saw in the schedule. And the other, as I told you earlier, I have 12 board-certified forensic pathologists, and he was one of the pathologists who was available.
Now, Doctor, is there a chief under you who is in charge of the forensic medicine division of the coroner's office?
Yes.
Who is that?
Dr. Rogers?
Would he be described as the number 2 man in your operation?
Yes.
Is he board certified?
Yes.
Do you consider him to be a experienced and competent forensic pathologist?
Yes.
Was he available for the 3 days you felt were necessary, the day that you were seeing the bodies, the 13th, and the 2 subsequent days?
He was not. He was on medical leave.
Was there any other forensic pathologist who you felt might be better suited for these particular cases?
No, I consider all my forensic pathologists to be who are board certified as experienced and capable, but I do have 3 senior physicians who also do complex cases when the necessity arises, and all 3 of them were not working all 3 days.
Who are the others? Do the 3 include Dr. Rogers?
No.
Who are the 3 you're talking about?
Dr. Sherry, Dr. Reeby, and Dr. Carpenter.
Why did you feel it was necessary that whoever was to be assigned the cases had to be there the 13th and the 14th? I think you explained why there may be a need to go over to the 15th, but why did you feel the need for the 13th?
It's very important when you have a homicide case that somebody sees the remains when they are clothed, when the evidence is being collected, and then follow up with their autopsy, and then follow through the process of dictation and determining the final cause and manner of death.
And none of these 3 were available for the 3 days that you described?
Not all the 3 days, because one of them was off on Mondays, and the other physician was off on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and the third physician was off on Wednesday. And furthermore, they also are the administrative type of physicians who are called operation officers, which I mentioned on Friday, who determine the extent of examination and assign cases, and they do the examinations in the office. That is, the cases which we don't autopsy, they do the examinations.
Doctor, why didn't you do the autopsies? You're the top man there?
That is a good question to ask, but I have other responsibilities being the chief medical examiner coroner. I have numerous responsibilities. I was also doing the administrative function of Dr. Rogers.
Did you see these as high publicity cases?
Yes.
Did you think that it might be beneficial to you personally to handle these cases?
Sustain.
Doctor, is there a book called Coroner to the Stars?
Sustain.
Doctor,
Mr. Kelberg, would this be a good place to take a break? We don't.
anytime you want, Your Honor.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our regular 10:30 break. Please remember all my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Form any opinions about the case. Don't allow anybody to communicate with you. Don't conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you. We'll take a break for 15 minutes. All right, Doctor, you can sit down. Whenever all parties are again present. All right, Deputy McNair, let's have the jurors, please. Joined by all the members of our jury panel. Dr. Lakshmanan is again on the witness stand undergoing direct examination by Mr. Kelberg. And Mr. Kelberg, you may resume with your direct examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have another photograph for Mr. Fairtlow. And actually, before you put it on, Mr. Fairtlow, a couple more questions of Dr. Lakshmanan. Doctor, I was asking you why you did not consider performing the autopsies on these two cases. Were there any other reasons that you took into account for deciding not to?
As I told you, I have numerous responsibilities as a coroner for Los Angeles. I'm responsible for the quality of the reports which go on all the 6,000 autopsies we do, the other 5,000 examinations which we do. And I'm also available for other functions in the office, and it's all enumerated, all my functions are enumerated in my curriculum vitae. But besides the point, I feel that different cases have to be experienced by different pathologists in my department, so they are all capable of doing complex cases.
Doctor, you've used this term again, complex cases. Did you consider each of these two cases to be a complex case?
Not in the type of case itself, but the number of injuries they have.
Tell us more how you distinguish between these two concepts.
When you refer to the case complexity may refer to the number of injuries a particular dissident has, and complexity can also refer to a difficult medical case where there's been hospitalization and a lot of medical problems which have to be correlated with pathological findings, and that would be a different type of complexity. A child abuse case could be more complex than a case like this where you have injuries which are clearly observable.
When you're talking about more complex in the sense that you mentioned child abuse cases and so forth, is that a thought process requiring a more experienced individual than maybe a younger forensic pathologist in your office?
Well, it would be preferable for a more experienced person doing the case, but in our office we have all the board-certified forensic pathologists and also fellows in training who do the cases, but they work under supervision of the experienced pathologist. So what I'm trying to say is every type of case can be handled by any one of my pathologists with the assistance or without the assistance of another experienced pathologist.
Would you consider the case of Nicole Brown Simpson from a forensic pathology standpoint to be a bread and butter type of case for a Los Angeles County deputy medical examiner?
Yes.
Why?
Because this is a kind of homicide case we see routinely in our office. In any given day, we have about 8 to 10 homicide cases being performed, and we have a significant number of them which have sharp force injuries, blunt force injuries, or firearm injuries.
And would the same opinion apply with respect to the case of Mr. Goldman? Bread and butter?
Yes.
For the same reasons?
Yes.
Now, if Mr. Fairtlow could put on this photograph, and this, Your Honor, I'd ask to be marked as 316.
All right, people 316.
Doctor, are you familiar with what's shown in this photograph?
That also shows the same refrigerated crypt space, but you're looking at it from the outside of the door. You saw the photograph from the inside. This is from the outside.
And now if we could go to the Laserdisc number 55, please. And Doctor, and Your Honor, I'd ask that this be marked as 317.
People's 317.
What is this that's shown in this photograph, Doctor?
This is another autopsy room in the coroner's office. This is a smaller room, and these have crypt spaces with doors which can be locked. And what you're seeing is 2 doors in which there are crypt spaces available, and this would give more security to the bodies if the doors are locked. And in the normal process, over the years, we use this crypt space for bodies which are decomposed or skeletonized remains. And this
I'm sorry,
area,
skeletonized remains?
skeletonized, partially skeletonized remains. And this area of the crypt space in our office is reserved for these type of dissidents.
And is this crypt space what you were referring to earlier, numbers 3 and 4, or something else?
No, number 3 and 4 was referred to the crypt space in the another area in the refrigerated crypt space.
Anything else about this photograph, Doctor?
Nothing else.
If we could move to number 24, please. And I'd ask, Your Honor, this be 318?
All right, 318.
What is shown in this photograph, Doctor?
This is the area of the office where photographs are taken. This is the photo studio area of the office, and the dissident's clothing is removed. They are photographed before the clothing is removed, and after the clothing is removed, body is washed. All the photographs are taken here.
Let's start this process. First of all, in the cases of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman, when is this process taking place?
It took place on June 14th in the morning.
And what is the process? Take us step by step. What is the process?
The process is the photographer takes the remains to this photo studio area. He makes a blue photographic, the blue card which we saw earlier. That is completed for each dissident. And one of the procedures in the coroner's office is to take a picture with the card and the ID band, so you know you're taking the picture of that person, and the number is also cross-checked. Then photographs are taken of the dissident with the clothing on in the condition they are seen at that time. Following this process, the photographer removes the clothing and places them in the clothing rack, which you saw earlier sometime. And the body is washed and photographed with special attention to injuries. And one of the important steps in the photography would be to take a photograph of the injury so that the anatomical region can be identified, and then a close-up photograph is also taken so that the injury can be better documented. And this is one stage of the photography of a dissident before autopsy.
Is the medical examiner who's going to perform the autopsy expected to examine the body at the time the photographs are first being taken with the clothes on?
Usually the medical examiner will examine the body before the photographs are taken, and sometimes during the process itself. It depends. And in this particular situation, Dr. Golden saw the bodies with me on the 13th.
In the clothed condition?
Yes.
Now, was anything done to the bodies between the 13th and the 14th when they are going to be photographed clothed?
Yes, I told you that Mr. Mahaney, our criminalist, saw the remains along with Ms. Claudine Ratliff to see whether any other evidence needs to be collected. And on Ms. Nicole Brown Simpson, he collected blood stains which were found in the right lower extremity, which is the thigh and calf area. And he collected that as physical evidence, and that was submitted on the 13th. And he examined the bodies with Ms. Claudine Ratliff. I was also present at the time, before he collected the evidence, rather. And that process also took place in addition to the nail collection, the hair collection, the fingerprint card processing, and this all happened on the 13th. Dr. Golden and I looked at the bodies on the 13th, and then Dr. Golden did autopsies on the 14th, and the photographic process took place on the 14th of June, 1994.
I'm sorry.
That's
In selecting Dr. Golden to perform these two autopsies, had you become familiar with Dr. Golden's performance in any other high-publicity double homicides?
Yes, he did the Menendez dissidents who died, and it was a double murder. And he has been in the office for 14 years, as I mentioned earlier. He's one of our experienced pathologists who has done many demanding, complex cases for the coroner's office. As I told you, he has done over 5,000 cases. He always handles them in a consistent manner. And to answer your question, he had handled other high-profile, complex cases before.
As of the 14th, 13th of June, actually, 1994, had you been aware of any cases in which Dr. Golden had been the forensic pathologist in which he had made what you believe to be a major mistake in the course of his duties as a forensic pathologist autopsying a body?
Not that I was aware of.
Subsequent to your involvement in this case, have you become aware of several such cases?
Yes.
And we're going to get into that later. But at the time you assigned Dr. Golden, were you aware of any such problems?
No.
Now, Doctor, In going through this process, the bodies are photographed clothed first, and then you said the clothing is removed by the photographer. Is that correct?
Yes.
Are the bodies then rephotographed, basically in the same place, in the same position, with the clothing removed?
No.
What is the next step?
The the correction, that photography may have taken place, but also the body is washed and then photographed.
Why do you wash the body?
Because when you have blood stains on the body from injuries, they obscure the details of the injury. The purpose of the photography is to document the injuries so that there's a permanent documentation of the injuries in a manner that can be easily evaluated by any qualified professional forensic pathologist to make an interpretation of the injury pattern seen. So if you don't wash the bodies, one, you will miss injuries. Number two, you won't have a proper documentation, because when you have blood staining which are dried up, it will cause problems in interpretation.
What is used to wash the bodies?
They use soap and water, and also the sponge, soft sponge, so that the blood staining can be removed. The situation on Ms. Nicole Brown Simpson, the only bony injury which Dr. Golden saw during his autopsy was the spine, third cervical spine, which was injured. So we had the whole specimen itself, but I ordered x-rays on the spinal specimen at a later date to make sure that we don't have any metallic fragment left in the spine, and this was done at a later stage.
And did you find that there was any metallic fragment left?
No.
Now, doctor, in your opinion, does the absence of an x-ray of the head or neck, other than the one you've described, in the case of Nicole Brown Simpson, diminish your ability to determine any of the issues that you have reviewed in this case?
No.
And would your answer be the same with respect to your ability to evaluate the issues that you have in the circumstance of Ronald Goldman?
Yes.
Mr. Fairlow, number 54, please. Doctor, what are we looking at in what I'd ask to be marked as Exhibit 319?
This is the
May be so marked, Your Honor?
Yes.
Now, what is this, doctor?
This is the same third autopsy room I was mentioning, where you have the crypt spaces with doors available to secure the dissidents. What we have, this room is being shown to show the portable x-ray machine in this room, which is available because what has happened is our current x-ray machine is being replaced with a new x-ray machine. So right now we are doing portable x-rays only. We are not doing any fluoroscopy at this time.
And how long have you been waiting for the new machine?
It's being installed. We should be in operation in the next few weeks. It's supposedly the state-of-the-art x-ray machine.
If we could have, oh, I'm sorry, you mentioned this is the third autopsy room?
Yes.
What, you have 3 autopsy rooms, is that safe to say from what you said?
Yes, we have a main autopsy room with 6 autopsy stations. We have another autopsy room with 5 autopsy stations. And this is the third autopsy room, which is used for cases where the bodies are decomposed or where there is a communicable disease suspected. This room has negative air exchange flow available, and this is the room we use for such cases. This has 3 autopsy stations. So basically, we have capability of 14 autopsy stations which are used.
Now,
And we also use this room for examinations.
What do you mean by negative air exchange flow?
That is basically the when you have air coming into a room, the same air is not recirculated. It's removed from the autopsy room through a suction type of situation.
Why do you do that in the cases such as you've indicated are autopsied in this room?
Because these communicable diseases, as I mentioned, is done there. We also have decomposed bodies being done there. You have in the latter, you have the situation of smell and that factor. And the communicable disease situation, you have aerosolization of microorganisms, which are the potential is higher. Not that every case you have to treat as though it could be potentially infectious. And in our office, protective clothing, mask, and eye shields are used by the doctors and technicians on every case entering the high-risk area. We call all these areas as high-risk areas. But this has an additional feature to this room where there's negative airflow available.
Doctor, on any given day at your office, you say you have 14 autopsy stations. I assume station means there's a table and whatever necessary accoutrements are required by your medical examiner. How many of those stations are being used to conduct
Any
autopsies?
given day, I would say at least 10 or 11 are being used. Sometimes all 13, 14 can be used. We handle 19,000 inquiries. We bring in 10,000 bodies to the central office. 6,000 autopsies on an average are performed a year. 2,500 homicides. I mean, investigated as homicide. We treat them like homicides, and 2,000 are certified as homicides every year. And even though only 6,000 autopsies approximately take place every year, you have 4,000 cases which are examined, which get partial or just an examination. And those kind of examinations take place in this third autopsy room.
Incidentally, Doctor, does your office perform autopsies 7 days of the week?
Yes.
And so when you were saying how Dr., I'm not sure if it was Sherry or Reby, was off on Tuesday or Wednesday when you're talking about going through the process of who was available to handle the case, those would be the normal days off for some of your doctors?
That is correct.
And such a doctor would then be working on Saturday and or Sunday?
Yes, I have, see, as I told you, there are senior doctors who do the triaging for the coroner's office, who make that important decision which bodies need to get autopsied. As you know, the autopsies are, cost the taxpayer about $2,000+ a case, and we have to be cost effective in what we do, which case, because our mandate is determine the cause and manner of death, and that decision is made by the senior doctor on the call that day.
Is the term triage something that might apply to what that doctor is doing?
Yes.
What does that mean?
That is, you select the cases which need, and you decide the extent of examination based on the circumstances. Some cases, like a 20-year-old who suddenly drops dead while playing football, will need a full autopsy and everything to try and find out what happened. But somebody with known heart disease or has history of heart disease who suddenly, who has had 2 bypass surgeries, who suddenly collapses but has not seen a physician in 20 days becomes a coroner's case. In that particular situation, you just do an examination, and because the circumstances point to that person having had a natural death, and most of them might have some of them might have gone to a hospital, and we may have enough medical information to give a cause and manner of death. So that's where the differentiation comes, or we may just do a limited exam of the heart in that particular situation. So this is where the senior doctor makes that important decision, the extent of examination.
Dr. Golden was not one of these senior doctors, was he?
No, he is not.
Why wasn't he one of your senior doctors?
I don't think he applied for the position. Some physicians don't like to have administrative responsibilities. They just like to do their routine, regular work, and they want to be there. He didn't apply.
Mr. Fairlow, if we could have number 26, please. What are we looking at in this photo, which I'd ask the court to mark as Exhibit 320?
Oh, this is the room where the drying rack, the clothing which is taken off the dissidents, are placed to dry. They are initially kept in the photo area and then moved to this room. You can see that the clothing is all being air dried in this room. And it's important that the drying takes place, air drying. You don't, that's the only way to dry the clothing.
Why do you want to dry the clothing, doctor?
Because if you wrap clothing which is moist with blood or body fluids, you will have growth of mold. And the reason you dry the clothing is if any evidence needs to be collected from the clothing, especially body fluids or blood stains, it has to be air dried, and you should not have contamination by overgrowth of fungus or bacteria. So you air dry it, and then you wrap it in paper.
And who is responsible, number one, for getting the clothing from the photography room to this drying area?
The photographer, and then from this stage, the evidence custodian takes the process over.
Who is the photographer in these two cases?
John Marsden, Johnmarsden.
And then who was responsible for taking over the collection of the clothing to the drying room?
I don't recall the name exactly, but it's in the evidence log sheet. I think it's Mr.
You can refresh your memory if you need to
Yes,
from
I'll
the
do that.
document.
As I mentioned, Mr. John Marsden removed the clothing. Mr. Patino received the clothing in the evidence room.
On what date, if it's indicated on a document?
June 16th. On Nicole, it was 16th.
And on Mr. Goldman?
I have to refer to his book. I think it's the same date, but I have to check.
All right? I'll go like that.
Doesn't, the books are big. On Mr. Goldman, it was submitted on the 20th, so it's a different date.
And who is the person who was
Mr.
responsible?
Patino.
Now, doctor, what is used to wrap the clothing?
I said paper is used, brown paper.
Why is brown paper used?
Because paper is the best material to use for wrapping clothing because you want airflow around the clothing even when it's dry. For the same reason earlier, you don't want mold to grow.
What happens to the clothing after it's been wrapped, doctor?
The evidence custodian, after the clothing is wrapped from the drying rack, takes it to the evidence room, which is a separate area in the office.
And I think we have some photographs of that. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes.
We'll get to that in a moment. But what is to happen to the clothing when it gets to that evidence room?
It's placed in a larger bag and then and stored in the evidence room. All this information of the chronology of events is recorded in the evidence log sheet.
Doctor, if you look in this photograph that's up on the screen, 320, there appears to be some kind of sign to the right of the entryway. Do you see that?
Yes.
And if Mr. Fairtlow could move to photo 27, is this a close-up of that sign?
Yes.
And how does one gain entry to this clothing drying area?
It's a secure room. It's locked, and you have to call the evidence. The technician autopsy technician who placed the clothing there can access it. But usually, we call the evidence custodian who will retrieve the clothing from this room for examination. This is if the doctor wants to go back and examine the clothing.
Doctor, is the medical examiner expected to examine the clothing, not just look at the clothing, but examine the clothing of a decedent such as Ronald Goldman
Yes.
and a decedent such as Nicole Brown Simpson?
Yes.
What is the medical examiner expected to be looking for in examining the clothing of these people?
One, you describe what clothing was present on the decedent, whether it's a shirt, pant, the nature of the clothing. Then also you have to look at the size, the label, manufacturer, give a description of the color, give a description of the material, and then look at the clothing in detail for distribution of staining, if you can make that determination. Then look for defects. Basically, you look at the clothing before autopsy, and then following the autopsy, you may have a better understanding of all the injuries which you observed on the decedent. So you can go back to the clothing to correlate and see whether any defects corresponding to every injury on the body, or there are additional defects, or there are no defects, depending on what the situation may be.
Defect sounds like a term of art. What does it mean in lay language?
A hole in the clothing, which is not from fraying or normal process. It's a hole made by an object, or like if it's a gunshot wound, a defect in the clothing caused by the gunshot wound. If it's from a knife, a hole caused by the knife.
Have you examined, in the fashion that you've indicated you would expect a medical examiner to examine the clothing, examined the clothing of Nicole Brown Simpson as you saw that same clothing on the 13th of June?
Yes, I examined them twice. Once briefly with Dr. Barden on the 22nd, and then I did a detailed examination of the clothing with my criminalist, I think in March of this year. I forget the exact date.
The criminalist was Mr. Dowell, Steve
Yes.
Dowell?
Yes, and I have generated a report which is in the file.
And did the same two examinations apply to the clothing of Ronald Goldman?
Yes, so one examination June 22nd with Dr. Barden, the second examination with my criminalist on March of this year.
In your examination of the clothing of Mr. Goldman, did you examine a shirt that he appeared to have been wearing when you saw the bodies on the 13th of June?
Yes.
Had you already reviewed any reports of Dr. Golden regarding any examination he made of that same shirt?
Yes, I did.
Did you find that there was a difference in the number of defects, as you used the term, that you identified in Mr. Goldman's shirt from what Dr. Golden described in any report that he observed?
Yes, I did.
What is the difference?
He described 3 defects in Mr. Goldman's shirt. When I examined it with our criminalist, and Dr. Golden again, I forgot to mention that Dr. Golden was present during the exam in March. we found 3 additional unlabeled defects, because when we examined the clothing in March, rather when I examined it in detail, the clothing already been examined by several persons, criminalists who had removed evidence from the clothing. So when I examined the clothing in March in detail, there were 3 additional unlabeled defects. Unlabeled means which would signify that there were defects which were from the injuries.
In your March examination, you say you saw other areas that appeared to have been cut out from the same shirt,
Sure, yes.
but did those areas all have some kind of initialing alongside the area where the hole now appeared?
Yes.
So when you're talking about these 3 additional defects, you're talking about 3 additional tears, if you will,
Yes.
that do not have any initialing next to them. Is that correct?
Yes.
When you and Dr. Bodden examined the shirt, I think you said on June 22nd, did you examine it in the same fashion with the same detail that you examined it in March of this year?
No, I did not, because the clothing had not yet been released for scientific analysis, and we had to be careful. It was just a brief examination, because as you know, there were material on the clothing which had to be analyzed. So we just did a brief examination, and I did it out of courtesy to the defense pathologists so they could have a view of the clothing. So we instructed them not to do a more detailed exam at that point till the evidence was examined.
And when you say evidence was examined, the evidence was turned over to the Los Angeles Police Department, the clothing
Yes.
that is?
Yes.
Now, Doctor, do you consider Dr. Golden's failure to describe the 3 additional defects that you saw? You saw a total of 6 defects in the shirt,
Yes.
and Dr. Golden described 3. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you see, of your 6, 3 that appeared to correspond to the description provided by Dr. Golden as to the 3 he saw?
Yes.
Do you consider his failure to identify in the report the 3 additional defects that you saw a mistake?
Yes.
Do you consider that mistake to have any significance on any of the issues that you have reviewed for testimony in this case?
No.
Why not?
Because there are defects in the clothing, and the clothing is available, and it didn't play a role in the cause and manner of death or the injuries on the body, which have been documented. The clothing in this situation would be useful to try and analyze whether there was any injury on the clothing which was not present on the body, in which case it would reflect that there was some kind of injury to the person, which the instrument which caused that defect in the clothing did not really cause an injury to the body. That would be one reason you examine the clothing, to see for defects which don't exist on the body surface when you put the clothing on the body.
Can you give us an example to make it somewhat clearer, perhaps?
Let's say there is a gunshot wound to the arm. I'm just giving an analogy. But you examine the shirt with a long sleeve. You find one gunshot wound to the arm, which has entered and exited the arm, and you have 2 defects in the clothing corresponding to that. But when you examine the sleeve of the shirt, you find 2 other gunshot wound defects that would signify, which are not in the same area, which would signify that there were additional wounds to the body which did not strike the dissident. In that kind of example, it would indicate there were more shots fired which did not strike the dissident, because when you do the body, you only see the injuries which caused injury to the body. I hope I conveyed what I wanted to say.
I'm not sure. Doctor, with respect to tears in clothing, in your experience in cases of this type, is it common to see that the clothing during the course of the assault, which leads to the death, may become disarrayed from the way it is normally worn?
That is quite common occurrence.
And is that something that you also are looking for with respect to the defects in the clothing and trying to correlate it with any particular injuries?
That is another reason.
And how does that happen? How do you do that?
You must have injuries on the clothing which are of similar size to the wounds on the body, and they must be in a location of the clothing within the same region where the injuries on the body. For example, in Mr. Ron Goldman's autopsy report, which shows some injuries to the right chest and right flank, there are defects in the clothing which may help in bringing up the example you just gave in your question.
And right flank, just for our present purposes, is what area of the body, Doctor? Could you stand, with the court's permission, could the witness stand? Keep your voice up, Doctor, please.
Right flank. this part of the body.
And for the record, Your Honor, the witness is pointing to his right side, perhaps an inch and a half or two above the belt line.
Noted.
You may retake the seat, Doctor.
And there were also two defects in the back of the shirt when the way we examined it. When we examined it, and there's no defect in the back in Mr. Goldman's body as an injury.
What, if any, significance does that have to you?
One explanation could be that there was some twisting and turning of Mr. Goldman during the altercation, which would move the clothing on the body, like because he didn't have any undershirt on, and this was a larger shirt, and the shirt would move on the body like a cylinder within a cylinder, the outer cylinder moving, and you could have what I'm trying to say is the clothing which shows a defect could have been in the area of the injury on the body during this twisting and turning of Mr. Goldman, because the clothing is loose on his body surface.
And then when one might put the clothing on as it would normally be worn, the defect will appear in an area other than where the defect is in the body itself?
That is correct. That is correct. So there are two reasons which can be helpful in the clothing. One, you see additional defects which don't necessarily have an injury on the body. And the second reason we just analyzed.
Dr. Golden's mistake in failing to identify these three defects, in your opinion, does that have any significance in your ability to determine whether one knife could have caused all of what I'll call sharp force injuries received by Mr. Goldman?
No,
Why not?
because I have the injuries on the bodies which I examined. I've examined all the photographs, injuries in the body through the photographs which I saw. I had 1:1 photographs which were available to me, and the injury pattern was quite distinct in some of the injuries which I saw. So the clothing really doesn't help you much with the injury pattern as looking at the injuries on the body.
But in spite of all that, it's still a mistake for Dr. Golden not to have identified these three additional defects?
Yes, that's one of the reasons I examined the clothing again in detail in March.
And incidentally, Mr. Lynch and I were both present for that.
Yes, and Dr. Golden was present, and we also had a criminalist there.
Mr. Fairtlow, if we could move to photo 56, please. Doctor, what are we looking at in this? I'm sorry, could I have just a moment, Mr. Blazer? Your Honor, I've been told by Mr. Blazer that we did not mark that last photograph, which should be exhibit number 321.
321, photograph of the sign depicted in 320.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Mr. Lynch, obviously it's been a long day already for me. Mr. Lynch has pointed out I really shouldn't have moved to this photograph yet. I have a couple more questions about clothing. We didn't talk about Mr. Goldman's pants. You examined his pants as well, didn't you, Doctor?
Yes, I did.
And you examined Dr. Golden's report, did you not, of any observations he made regarding defects in Mr. Goldman's pants, correct?
Yes,
The pants were blue jeans.
yes.
When you examined the pants with Dr. Baden on June 22nd, how meticulous an examination did the two of you do?
We did the same brief examination for the same reason I alluded to earlier, because the evidence had not been collected from this piece of evidence, and actually we were keeping that in mind, and Dr. Baden was also considerate enough to go along with our request, and it was a brief examination which showed the defect in the left pocket area of the jean. We didn't do a detailed examination at that point.
Left pocket area, Doctor, where?
In the left thigh jean area.
I'm sorry, the left thigh area?
Left thigh pocket area.
Okay, if you could point out, you stood again, and Your Honor, where the witness is pointing on the left side to the left of the midline of the leg, down about 6 inches, Doctor, from the belt line?
That would be an approximate location.
What's your approximation? How far down from the belt line?
About 6 to 8 inches, somewhere here in this region.
Thank you.
Now, Doctor, when you examined the clothing, the jeans, in March of 1995, did you find any additional defects in the pants?
Yes, I did.
How many?
There were two more unlabeled defects which were in the pocket underlying this defect in the trouser.
And how were you able to see these two additional defects?
When
Or
you,
would the tears, again, we're going to use this lay terminology? Tears, would that be accurate?
that would be a term which we could use.
No, if it's not accurate, it's not a term we
Well,
can use.
I like to use the word defect because tear somehow has a connotation that it's a fraying of the clothing. So I like to use the term defect, and this way it could be later explained with a particular instrument or in question.
All right, then describe the two additional defects that you saw.
The defect was in the inside the pocket of underlying the defect in the outer aspect of the jean. So you had the defects in the pocket were in line with the defect on the gene on the outside. So it's, can I demonstrate, Your Honor? Or?
Yes.
Basically, the pocket has two layers which were both traversed and underlying the defect on the outer surface of the pan.
The pocket has two layers when you
Yes.
pull it out,
Yes.
and the defect goes, in essence, through and through?
Yes.
So, and that makes two defects?
Yes.
And that aligned with the defect that you described initially in the thigh area?
Yes.
Incidentally, doctor, these defects, all of the ones you saw, the 6 on the shirt, the 3 in the pants, in your opinion, what, if any, source or sources could cause those kinds of defects?
A sharp instrument like a knife.
And we're going to get into some discussion of types of knives, class characteristics, and so forth. But is there something called a single-edged knife that has significance to you as a term?
Yes.
In general, what is that?
Basically, the knife only has one cutting edge. The other edge is being blunt.
Can such a knife have caused all of the defects that you identified in Mr. Goldman's shirt?
Yes.
Overruled.
It could have, because in the clothing it's very difficult to say blunt edge and sharp edge. You just have a defect, and all I can say is it's capable of causing the defects in the clothing.
Is it also capable of causing the 3 defects you saw in the pants of Mr. Goldman?
Yes.
In your opinion, doctor, first of all, how many did Dr. Golden identify?
One.
In your opinion, was it a mistake on Dr. Golden's part not to identify all 3?
Yes.
Is there any consideration to be given to the need for that clothing to be examined, such as by the Los Angeles Police Department for blood or whatever they're going to do with it, and as a result, Dr. Golden not pulling out the pant pocket for examination?
That would be a good reason for not having done it if that's the reason he didn't do it.
If that is the reason he didn't do it, would you still consider it a mistake on his part not to have done it?
If he didn't do that process, it is not possible to see these defects. So if that is taken as a reason, then it won't be a significant mistake. It's not a mistake.
Is it significant, whatever his reason may be, to you in assessing whether a single-edged knife could have caused those 3 defects?
No,
Why not?
because even the clothing, as I told you, is very difficult to tell single edge and double edge, especially in a jean, because you're fraying of the fibers also when the defect is created. It's very difficult to analyze that.
Anything further on the examination of the clothing of Mr. Goldman?
No.
Doctor, did you examine Nicole Brown Simpson's clothing for defects?
Yes, I did.
Did you see any defects?
There were no defects which I could attribute to instruments, as I just did with Mr. Coleman.
Were there defects in the sense of what you described with Mr. Goldman's shirt as far as cuttings that had been taken with initialing?
Yes.
But for every such defect, was there initialing by the defect?
At least I recall initials on the defects I saw.
Doctor, did you examine the panties that you observed on June 13th, 1994?
Yes, I examined the panties twice. Again, Ms. Nicole's clothing also I examined twice, once with Dr. Barden on June 22nd of 94, and the second time this March. And during the time of the examination of Dr. Barden, we used an ultraviolet light in our office, actually in most of the examination, to look for staining fluorescent patterns on the clothing we examined.
What were you looking for in the way of staining?
We were looking for any seminal stainings which we could see in the panty area.
Doctor, had you examined that clothing, including the panties, on June 13th of 1994?
I didn't examine the panties in detail like I did on June 22nd and March, but I did see the clothing as it was on Ms. Nicole when the body was brought into our office.
When we get into some of the photographs, I'm going to ask you some questions about the clothing and what, if any, significance what you saw may have had in any determinations made on June 13th. But we'll move on to photo 56, Mr. Fairlow. And Your Honor, I ask that this be marked as 322.
All right, people, 322.
Now, Doctor, what are we looking at in this photograph?
That is the main autopsy room of the coroner's office. We have 6 autopsy stations, but you can see, I think you can see all of them.
Doctor, you're going to have to keep your voice up or move the mic around.
There are 6 autopsy stations here.
And basically, if we count tables, one table constitutes one autopsy station. Is that correct?
Yes.
What are those things hanging down?
Those are the weighing scales where the doctors place the organs for taking the weight of the organs.
And is there a pan or something that is a little more difficult to see? Mr.
Yes,
Fairlow sees it, obviously.
There's a stainless steel pan which is attached to the weighing scale.
And what is the process that the autopsy surgeon uses in weighing an organ, let's say the lung, one of the lungs?
The lung is resected after examination in situ means in the body, and the organ is weighed separately. Each one of them is weighed separately.
Now, doctor, is this the room in which the autopsies of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman were performed?
Yes.
And do you see the station at which Dr. Golden performed those two autopsies?
The station would be the closest one to the right.
Where we're seeing the area that Mr. Fairlow has the arrow now?
Yeah, that would be the area, yes.
Now, doctor, at my request, was this photograph taken at a time when there were no bodies being autopsied?
That is correct.
And in fact, is that unusual that at some point in the day there are no bodies on any of these tables?
Usually in the afternoons after the autopsy is completed, there is intense cleaning process of the autopsy room which takes place, and you're seeing our autopsy room late in the afternoon after the autopsies have been completed, at least the main autopsy room.
What are the medical examiners like Dr. Golden doing at this time, or at least what are they expected to be doing at this time, when they are not down there, in fact, doing the autopsy?
The medical examiners have numerous responsibilities. Autopsy is only one part of it. They have to review microscopic slides, they review medical charts which may be needed to make a good diagnosis, they may need to go to court, they may need to dictate their findings in the afternoon, they may have appointments with families, they may have depositions. It's a busy office, and each of our medical examiners, as I mentioned earlier, does 350 cases a year, and between the demands placed by the public, the criminal justice system, and the workload which I make them do, they have their hands full. So they have enough to do.
Doctor,
And, more than enough to do in a day.
Doctor, you indicated, I think on Friday, and you've just alluded to it again, that they must dictate reports. Is that correct?
Yes.
I do not see in this photograph microphones hanging down from the ceiling as you see the scales over each of these tables. Do you have such things?
We don't have that in our office because of the noise factor, because as I told you, at any given time, 10 to 15 autopsies are going on, 14 autopsies are going on at the same time. The doctors take good notes during the autopsy, diagram the injuries, but dictate the findings soon after the autopsy.
And is that this protocol that you identified on Friday?
Yes, they dictate the findings, and that is the transcribed version.
Doctor, in your opinion, would it be better, if feasible, to have the medical examiner dictating away? Let me use an example. Have you seen on television in Quincy or a movie, Dirty Harry, where they'll sometimes have a scene of an autopsy being performed, one body in a room, and the microphone hanging down? Have you seen such a thing?
Yes.
Do you think that that would be a better system, if feasible, in your operation, so that the medical examiner would dictate as the medical examiner is doing the autopsy, rather than the process that you are describing and will describe in further detail?
That would be a good process to have, but as I told you, because of the number of cases we do and the noise factor of the saws and other things, it's not practical in our office. But sometimes, if you start a case later in the afternoon, we do have handheld dictating machines available if somebody wants to dictate. But generally, the process in our office is do the autopsy, take good notes, make good diagrammatic documentation, and dictate the case at a later point, the same day or within 24 hours.
And in the regular course of the coroner's business, you say this is your main autopsy room?
This is the main autopsy room. We have another room with 5 autopsy stations.
Is this room normally operating with all 6 stations doing autopsies beginning early in the morning?
Yes.
And normally, how late does it run in the ordinary kinds of cases before the area gets cleaned out for the purposes of cleaning up for the next day?
Generally by about 2:30, 3 o'clock. Usually the cleaning crew starts coming at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And if there is a case which is going on late in the afternoon, then that area will be cleaned up later.
Mr. Fairlow, can we have number 57, please? And, Your Honor, I'd ask that this be marked as 323.
All right, People's 323.
Doctor, what are we looking at in this photograph?
This is the autopsy station, first autopsy station where the autopsies of the dissidents were conducted. And I'd like to point out also that we have a board available for making notations.
If Mr. Fairlow could get our arrow out. Are you talking about where he's got the arrow now?
Yes.
And that board is what? I'm sorry?
We can make notations with the chalk as to the findings so that the doctor could transpose it back into the report if necessary at the conclusion of the autopsy, to take notes.
Is that for that station only?
Well, it'll be more convenient for that station, but doctors also use marker pens on the metallic board-like area behind the weighing scale. They could make markings there also, which are easily removable after the autopsy. This is just to jot down the memory on a trajectory, because you are in the middle of an autopsy and you document trajectories, weights, and then you enter the data in the prescribed forms of the coroner's office.
Doctor, when you said this is a station where the decedents were autopsied, are we talking specifically about Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman?
Yes.
And from that, is it accurate to say that they were not done simultaneously by Dr. Golden?
No, they were not.
They were done sequentially?
They were done one after the other.
And who was autopsied first?
Nicole Brown Simpson was autopsied first.
And is there a form that is completed by Dr. Golden to indicate when that autopsy began and when it ended?
Yes, that is only the autopsy process. It doesn't take into time the dictation time, which is done later.
But basically the time that Dr. Golden spends with the body at this station number 6?
Yes.
And a similar form for Mr. Goldman?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to get into some forms and so forth. I don't know if this is a good time for the court to break.
Yeah, stay the point. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the morning session. Please remember all of my admonitions to you. Do not discuss this case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions about the case. Don't conduct any deliberations until the matter has been submitted to you. Do not allow anybody to communicate with you with regard to the case. We'll stand in recess until 1 o'clock. And, Doctor, you ordered to return at 1 o'clock. All right, we'll stand in recess. Before the court with counsel, people are represented. Jury is not present. Counsel, anything we need to take up before we invite the jurors to rejoin us?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Let's have the jury, please. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I need for all of you to stay healthy. All right. All right, let the record reflect that we've been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. Dr. Lakshaman is again on the witness stand undergoing direct examination by Mr. Kelberg. And Mr. Kelberg, you may resume with your direct examination.
Your Honor. I have another photograph I'm going to ask Mr. Fairtlow to put on because I want zoom capability. And I ask Your Honor this be marked as photograph 324, People's Exhibit 324.
People's 324.
Now, Doctor, we were talking about the autopsy room, and I want you to look at this photograph, People's 324, and tell us what is shown in this particular photograph.
This is the autopsy instrument tray with the instruments set up in the manner which the doctor has available before he or she starts the autopsy.
Who sets up this tray?
The autopsy technicians at the coroner's office.
And this is already in place at the time the medical examiner, like Dr. Golden, is going to begin the autopsy?
Yes.
Doctor, are these instruments sterilized?
No, they're washed.
Is there any reason why they are not sterilized?
Well, we have an autoclave, but it's not used that often. But it's just washed and cleaned.
Is the fact that these people are dead of consequence as to why you do not need, or do not at least use, the autoclave to sterilize your instruments on a routine basis?
That's one reason.
Doctor, if we can get Mr. Fairtlow to work our arrow for us and kind of go top to bottom in the tray, and ask if you can just basically tell us what each of the instruments is. Perhaps we could start what looks to be some kind of knife with a white handle and start with that and work our way down.
That's a large knife which is used to cut the larger organs in the body.
I'm sorry, what is its use?
It's a larger knife which is used to cut the larger organs in the body like the brain and the liver, the lung, etc.
And what do you mean by cut those?
Initially, the autopsy process involves examination of the organs in situ in the body to see the relationship and also any injuries. And then when the organ is removed from the body, you serially section the organ to look for pre-existing disease process in the organ. And this instrument is used for that purpose when you make the serial sectioning of the organs.
What do you mean by serial sectioning?
Cutting them like you cut a bread loaf so that you can study the cross section of the organ.
Going from outside to inside?
Yes.
And is there any custom or practice as to how many, I hate to use the term slices, of the organ the medical examiner takes in making that kind of examination with respect to these organs?
Well, there's a minimum, there's no specific number as long as the organ is adequately examined. Some areas may require more sectioning than others, but it's the medical examiner's decision on that.
It's the medical examiner's decision. If Mr. Fairtlow could move the arrow to the left and stop where he has, what are we looking at now, Doctor?
That's a plastic bulbous syringe which is used to collect urine.
Where is the urine collected from?
The urinary bladder.
And that collection is performed by the deputy medical examiner like Dr. Golden?
Yes, and sometimes by the autopsy technician who's assisting the doctor.
Now, it appears if Mr. Fairtlow could move the arrow towards the bulb end of that syringe. Is that resting in something, Doctor?
Yes, that is a ladle.
Like a soup ladle?
Yes.
What is it used for?
Well, that is used for several purposes to remove blood accumulation in the chest cavities used to remove any other fluid accumulations, and to also have a volume estimation of the fluid removed as they are being removed. And it's also washed and sometimes used to estimate the volume of the stomach contents.
The volume of the stomach contents?
Yes.
What is the size of that ladle?
The ladles we have in our office is 6-ounce ladles, 6-ounce capacity.
And in cases like Ronald Goldman, Nicole Brown Simpson, would you expect there to be free blood inside of each of these persons' bodies as a result of the injuries received?
Yeah, especially in Mr. Goldman, he had evidence of bleeding into the abdominal cavity and chest cavity. So there was evidence of blood accumulation in the cavities of Mr. Goldman.
Would you expect then this ladle to be used to measure the quantity of blood found in that area?
Approximately, yes.
Now, doctor, you mentioned it can also be used to estimate the volume of the stomach contents. Is that correct?
Yes.
Assuming that this ladle is used to measure the volume of blood, and it's also going to be used to measure the stomach contents, would you expect it to be washed between the two procedures?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because you don't want cross-contamination of the blood material with the gastric contents.
What do you do as a medical examiner with any blood that is ladled out of the inside of the body?
Sometimes you need to collect the blood for toxicology, and when you open the heart, sometimes the blood is collected from the heart in the ladle and placed in the blood bottle. The situations where you are removing blood and blood clots from a cavity, you place it in a tray till you so you can assess the volume. And sometimes in a case of a firearm injury or a gunshot wound which has entered a chest cavity, the bullets can be in the blood clot, in the blood which is accumulated in the chest cavity. So it's important to save all the blood which is removed from the cavity, in addition to measuring the volume, but also to have it available to retrieve any projectiles which may have finally come to rest in the blood clot in the chest cavity.
Doctor, are there prepared for the use of the medical examiner vials of various types to collect these kinds of specimens?
Yes.
And I think we have a photo we're going to get to in a moment, but for our present purposes, with respect to the stomach contents that may be measured with this, what happens to those stomach contents?
They are placed, first of all, the doctor records the character, the gross examination, and also the amount, and it's placed in a container earmarked for collection of such contents. And we have a plastic jar which is used for that purpose.
We're going to talk about stomach contents a good deal later on. Is there anything else that this ladle is used for?
Basically, for these two purposes, removal of fluids, collections, give an estimation of the approximate volume.
If we could have Mr. Fairlow move the arrow down, there appears to be perhaps the end of a knife where it is right now. Do you see that, doctor?
Yes, it's a smaller knife, and that is usually used for removal of the neck organs and other dissections as the doctor may feel it's necessary during his dissection or her dissection.
Incidentally, doctor, how frequently are these knives, such as the top one that you identified and the one we're looking at now, how frequently are they sharpened?
They're supposed to be sharpened every day or as needed. Whenever the doctor gives an opinion that they're dull, then the technician will have it sharpened.
But this would be a knife used to dissect in the neck area of a person like Nicole Brown Simpson?
It's used more to remove the neck organs after initial inspection.
What are the neck organs that you're talking about?
Neck organs in our office, usually we remove the tongue also, inclusive with the larynx and hyoid and pharynx and esophagus together as en bloc after having done the dissection of the chest cavity and the head.
Is this knife used for any other purposes?
As I told you, for dissection of any organ which the doctor feels more comfortable using the smaller knife.
Now, if we can move the arrow to the right a bit, where Mr. Fairlow has it, what are we looking at now?
That is a kind of a plier-like instrument which can be used to strip the pleura.
What's the pleura?
Pleura is the lining of the inner surface of the chest cavity. It's like a lining which also covers the lung and the chest cavity, and it forms a kind of potential space between the chest wall and the lung. And there is fluid in the pleural cavity, and this allows free movement of the lung during breathing.
What other uses, if any, does this particular plier-like instrument have?
Sometimes to open the rib cage after you make a incision, and also to when you remove projectiles from the spine. Sometimes when you make cuts, it's easier to open up the bone to get the bullet out.
You indicated open up the rib cage. How is that done?
We have a different pair of, it can be done in two processes, either by a saw or by a shear. We have a shear which is used to open up the rib cage.
Doctor, is either the saw or the shear shown in this photograph?
No,
The saw that is used, does it have the appearance of a hacksaw?
not exactly a hacksaw. It's more like a electrically power-driven saw. We didn't take a picture of it, but it's similar to the saw used in orthopedics to remove the cast.
And the shears that are used, are they similar in nature to pruning shears that one might have around the garden?
Yes.
Now, doctor, these are not very sophisticated tools, it appears. Is that correct?
Well, they're similar to surgical instruments which are used, at least the scalpel and the scissors and forceps part of it.
And in order to get to the internal organs, is the saw or the pruning shears required?
Yes, because after you reflect the skin and subcutaneous soft tissues, to open the chest cavity, you need to open the rib cage to do that, to enter the chest cavity.
And was that done in both of the cases here?
Yes.
Now, doctor, if we could move down to the next instrument, what are we looking at?
You have a forceps, and then you have a ruler, which is being pointed to.
Let's start with the forceps. What is the purpose of that instrument?
Usually to pick up structures before you dissect them, and also during dissection you need the forceps so that you can open up a vessel or open up a bronchial area in the lung, depending on what structure you're dissecting. Basically, these are dissecting instruments.
Those look like big tweezers. Would that be an analogy?
You could use that analogy, but these are forceps actually.
You prefer that term?
Yes.
All right. Now, the measuring device that's under there, is that different than what you were mentioning before, this blue card that appears in the photographs?
That's correct. This is a scientific ruler which gives measurements both in inches and centimeters.
And how is that used, if at all, by the medical examiner?
They could be used for a variety of purposes, from measuring the injuries on the body surface to measuring valve circumferences when the heart is dissected.
Valve
So,
circumferences?
yes.
Incidentally, you mentioned the ladle taking blood from the heart. Is there, in cases such as Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman, a typical location where blood is collected from?
Usually you open up either the inferior vena cava, right atrial junction, and after removing the pericardial fluid, you allow the blood to accumulate in the pericardial sac, and you retrieve the blood, which is placed in the bottle, which is earmarked for collection of blood. And then the ladle can be used for the transfer. But we also provide the doctors with a plastic syringe, which is to remove the blood and submit it in the serology tube, which is the EDTA tube.
Doctor, first of all, what's the pericardial sac?
Pericardial sac is the sac covering the heart. Just like the pleural cavity covers the lung, you have the pericardial sac covering the heart.
Why do you choose that location to collect your blood supply?
Because you have a sac-like structure there, and once you, always the pericardial sac has some fluid. Once you take the fluid out, you have a kind of sac-like structure available for the blood to be collected from.
What is the purpose of collecting blood from that location?
Well, you get heart blood from the heart when you do this collection in this manner.
And what, if any, purpose will that supply of blood serve?
We save blood usually for toxicological purposes, and the blood we collect is placed in sodium fluoride.
What is toxicological purposes?
Study for drugs and poisons.
Do drugs include blood alcohol levels?
Yes.
And this is collected by either the ladle or, you say, a syringe?
The syringe is used for the serology tube because the syringe is a 10 cc syringe.
And I think we have a picture of that coming up.
Okay.
Anything further back on this measuring device that you haven't covered?
No, it's just a ruler used to measure any structure the doctor wants to measure.
If we can move to the right, Mr. Ferretlow, this next instrument.
That's a scissor
What's that used for, doctor?
dissection.
In what fashion?
As I told you, to open up vessels or dissect a particular bronchus, any tubular structure to open up,
And for example,
opening up the stomach, the esophagus, anything, wherever you need to open up a hollow tubular structure.
would substance or structures like the carotid artery be the kind of thing that could be opened up with that type of scissor?
It could be used for that.
Is that a blunt end or a sharp end type of
That
scissor?
looks like a sharp-ended scissor. You would like to use a scissor which has a blunt and a sharp blade to it, so that the blunt end could be used for the blunt part of the dissection, and then the sharp end to make the final cuts.
Why do you want a blunt end?
This way, you do not cause false nicks in the intima of the vessel when you open up the carotid artery.
The
The intima means the inner lining of the carotid artery.
Anything else that type of scissor is used for?
Basically, dissection, as I told you.
Now, doctor, I can't tell. Is there an instrument to the right, kind of underlying the handle of the scissors that we were looking at?
Yes, that's a chisel which is used in the opening of the skull of the dissident.
How is the chisel used to do that?
The electric saw is used to open the, first of all, the scalp is reflected, and the skull is opened with the help of an electric saw. And the electric saw usually cuts through the whole thickness of the skull. But after the saw has been used, you use the chisel to pry open the skull so that you can examine the dura and the cranial contents in a proper manner.
When you say the cranial contents, the brain?
Yes, and the coverings of the brain.
Now, doctor, when you say pry open, is there like a hammer or something that goes with that chisel?
No, if the saw has been used properly, the chisel should be able to separate the sawed areas so that you can easily open the skull like a cap and then examine the cranial contents.
Mr. Kelberg, may I see you and Mr. Shapiro for a moment, please? Doctor. Thank you, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Doctor, if we could get the arrow back and move to the last three instruments, I think, that are there. There are two instruments that appear similar in nature where Mr. Fairlow has the arrow. What are those?
Scalpel blades,
And what is their purpose?
their purpose is to help in opening up the body and any other dissection and sectioning of tissues necessary for storage.
And the last instrument, I think it's the last instrument in this photograph, is it, doctor?
Yes.
What is that?
That's a larger scissor which is constructed in a manner which which can be used to open the intestines
And why is that done, to open the intestines?
so that you can study the intestinal contents.
And what, if any, significance does that have on a routine basis?
Well, you have to examine the intestine not only to see the contents but also see the lining of the intestine to see whether there's any disease process. Like you can have cancer, you can have diverticuli because the colon and intestine can have abnormal disease processes which can be only found if you open the intestine.
And now, Mr. Fairlow, if I could exchange photographs with you, I think we need this one to focus in as well.
All right, this will be People's 325.
325, I believe, Your Honor. And perhaps if you can you pull it back a little bit? Doctor, what are we looking at in this photograph?
These are the containers set up before an autopsy for a full toxicology and tissue saving during the autopsy. You have two glass bottles on the left side, which are used to collect urine and bile if available. Then you have two other plastic containers. One is used for collecting of stomach contents. The other one is used for collecting liver specimen if necessary. The next jar is a plastic jar which has formalin in it, and this is to remove representative samples of tissue and preserve it in formalin so that any microscopic studies, if performed, the tissue will be available. And this is the jar containing tissue which is saved after an autopsy.
Would this be a jar that would be used, for example, to save representative sections of the brains of the decedent?
Yes.
And each of the items that you've identified so far in the photograph appear to have a band around the item. Do you see that?
Yes, those are the labels used in the coroner's office, and depending on what item is collected, you mark the box. If it's urine, you mark the urine box. If it's bile, you mark the bile box, etc.
If Mr. Fairlow could switch for a moment to photo 53, and I'd ask Your Honor it be marked as 326.
All right, next photo, 326.
Doctor, are you familiar with what is shown in this photograph?
Yes, this is the label, which is the white structure you saw pasted on those bottles and plastic containers. And depending on what the specimen is, if the arrow can go down, you mark the box. Suppose you had the same label on the plastic container, which you collect the gastric contents, you would naturally mark the box for the stomach. Now, in the lower part, you have histopathology, and that part is completed if you have the same label on the jar which has the formalin in it. So, and there we have 3 boxes there which are self-explanatory.
Doctor, whose responsibility is it to check the box that corresponds to what is going to be in the container?
The doctor and the technician. The doctor has to also initial the containers after they remove the specimen.
Now, you say the responsibility is on both individuals, the doctor and the technician?
It is ultimately the medical doctor's responsibility to mark the box or make sure it's marked.
Now, in this particular case involving both Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman, did you find after your meeting or in the course of your meeting with Dr. Bodden that there had been a mistake made in labeling?
Yes.
What was the mistake you identified?
This was a bile container was marked as urine. I have to refer to my notes to remember which dissident it was that mistake.
Could you do that? And while you're doing that, if Mr. Fairtlow could go back to the photograph that has the jars, which is our exhibit 325.
The specimen was that of Mr. Ron Goldman, where the bile specimen was saved, but the bottle label was marked as urine.
Doctor, as a forensic pathologist, can you easily distinguish bile from urine?
Certainly.
How?
One is a light amber yellowish color. The bile is thick greenish black in color, and anybody can tell the difference between a bile and urine.
Anybody who's a forensic pathologist?
Yes.
All right, doctor, this is a mistake that was made, is that correct?
Yes.
And in your opinion, is this mistake ultimately the responsibility of Dr. Golden?
Yes.
In your opinion, does this mistake affect in any way your ability to answer the issues that you have reviewed for your testimony here today?
No.
Were there any other mistakes in labeling that were found in the course of either your meeting on June 22nd with Dr. Bodden or any other review?
We already discussed the mistake of the non-marking of the fingernail kit envelope, in which the scrapings were not marked outside as though they had been taken, even though they had been taken. And that's one mistake I remember, and this one.
Which of these jars or cups was it, in type that is, which had the bile mistakenly labeled as urine?
This was the glass bottle is the jar which is used for collection of urine and bile. That would be go to the left.
Mr. Fairtlow?
The left, that jar. That would be the jar which would be marked incorrectly.
Was urine found to have been collected as well in this case?
Only bile was collected.
Is it customary in cases such as this to collect urine?
If it's available, and if the doctor thinks it's indicated. The collection of toxicology on cases is up to the physician, because we only collect toxicology if we need it for the cause and manner of death.
And in your opinion, from the review of all the materials you have reviewed, which we'll identify later, was urine necessary for the answers to those questions?
No.
Now, doctor, if we could have Mr. Fairtlow move the arrow down to that, and maybe move the photograph actually, so we'll center it on the item at the far right. And that's the item, and maybe we can get the arrow either going the other way, or maybe we can just move it to the right. There we go. Doctor, what is this series of materials?
You have a blood bottle, and that is the bottle which contains sodium fluoride. And
incidentally, why do you have sodium fluoride in the bottle?
That's a preservative which is used when we collect blood, and it inhibits certain enzymes which prevent conversion of some drugs which may be present. For example, there is the enzyme cholinesterase, CHOLINESTERASE, which is present in the blood, which can metabolize some of the drugs sometimes, and the sodium fluoride also inhibits that, and is also used as a preservative.
Why don't you want these enzymes to be able to metabolize the drugs?
Because you can have postmortem conversion of common drug, which I can just give an example, is cocaine, can be converted to metabolite benzoyl-agonine. And
benzoyl-agonine?
Yes.
Okay.
And this sodium fluoride would inhibit this enzyme.
And as the preservative aspect of sodium fluoride, what is that intended to do then?
It basically inhibits the enzyme and prevents such conversions.
And is this the blood that can be tested for alcohol, for example?
Yes.
And in fact, in the case of both Mr. Goldman and Ms. Brown-Simpson, were their blood samples tested for blood alcohol levels?
Yes, and also drugs.
Now, what are the other two devices or materials that are rubber banded around this big vial?
This is the serology tube, and that contains EDTA, which
What
is
is EDTA?
ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. It's a calcium chelating agent. It basically prevents clotting of the blood in the tube.
Why do you want to prevent that?
Because it's used for serological analysis, and for serological analysis, you need unclotted blood.
Serological analysis, I believe there's been a lot of testimony over the past few weeks on serology and so forth, but just for the record, is this basically to test their blood types, for example?
Yes.
And is this tube commercially provided to the coroner's office that is already prepared with the EDTA in the tube?
Yes.
And what about the label that's around it? Is that already provided in the commercially provided vial?
No, that label is applied from our office. And the next structure next to it is the syringe I was talking to you. It's a plastic syringe.
This syringe then is to take blood from the pericardial sac, as you identified earlier?
Yes.
And place it in where?
Into this test tube.
And then what happens with the test
Then
tube?
the stopper is placed, the label is properly completed.
By
and-
whom?
By the doctor, and the name is already previously imprinted. The doctor checks the correctness of the number and the name, and also initials the tube.
When you say the number, we're talking about this individualized number that the coroner's office assigns on each case?
Yes.
Mr. Fairtlow, if we could move to photo 70, please. And I think, is there any possibility, Mr. Fairtlow, of perhaps turning this to the right 90 degrees? Before we then do that, Doctor, what is this? And I'd ask Your Honor this be marked as 327.
This is the label which goes on the test tube, which we just discussed. And it's got the date, the DME's name, the name of the dissident there, I think.
Let me pull out the photograph just so we can perhaps have it a little clearer. Your Honor, I don't know if the court wants this marked as a separate sub-exhibit or will be satisfied with the first photo printout.
First photo would be fine.
Basically, the space on the empty space is used for the imprinting of the card with the name and number, then the date, the DME's name, and whether the blood was taken from the heart or cavity. Sometimes if a person has had injuries which have caused a lot of bleeding, you may not have any blood in the heart available to submit, as it happened in Mr. Ron Goldman. Dr. Golden submitted the right pleural blood for toxicology.
And when you say, I'm sorry.
So in that situation, the other would be completed as right pleural blood.
In Mr. Goldman's case, from your review of the materials, there was not sufficient blood available in the pericardial sac?
Not the pericardial side, the heart.
In your opinion, why was that?
Because he had a lot of injuries which caused significant bleeding. And extremities mean the arms, the hands and the feet and the legs and the arms.
And in cases involving stab wounds or the use of a knife to inflict injuries, is defensive wounds something, or are defensive wounds, the kind of thing that, as a forensic pathologist, you are looking for?
Yes.
And on a form like 23, is this where you would expect them to be diagrammed, at least with respect to the hands?
Yes.
Mr. Fairtlow, next one. And what is this type of diagram, a 22, to be used for?
This diagram is used to document injuries in the head and neck area.
Okay, and would that include stab wounds?
It would include any type of injury one may see on a person.
The next one, Mr. Fairtlow. Again, doctor, is this Form 21 to be used in the course of the autopsy?
Yes, this is a side view of the body. We use this diagram because this gives you a better view of the flank area, which I demonstrated earlier.
And the next one, Mr. Fairtlow. Form 28. What does this show, doctor?
This shows the skull cavity after the skull cap has been removed as we see it in the autopsy room.
And the next one? Form 27.
This is a diagram which shows the skeletal system with an outline of the body around it to document any fractures or injuries, penetrating injuries through the rib cage or bony cage. It is a good form to diagrammatically represent what you want to demonstrate.
Doctor, going back briefly to Form 28, you've already identified from Form 29, the brain form, this issue of no injuries. What you identified on June 22nd as this contusion to the cerebral cortex of Nicole Brown Simpson's brain tissue, would you expect that to be diagrammed on this form?
Not the brain contusion. The brain contusion is diagrammed only in the brain diagram.
And on this form, if there is any kind of sharp force injury to the skull, like a knife striking the skull, would you expect that this would be the form where it would be diagrammed?
Yes.
I think we're done with those forms.